Welcome in, everybody, to the. What are we gonna do? We got the podcast, we got the YouTube thing going on. We got a couple things happening today. So, welcome everybody that is watching us on YouTube and listening to the Fantasy Baseball and Podcast. Jim here, along with Ted. It's been a couple weeks. Ted, how are you?
Doing well, Jim. We're in the process of trying to get a house right now. So the wife and I have been pretty stressed out for sure.
Good luck with that. Anybody who's trying to do the house thing right now knows that it's absolutely it's crazy right now. You got to overpay, overbid, be aggressive. It's absolutely nuts right now. So good luck. Good luck with that. Colin, welcome in. Kyle, welcome in. Chunky, welcome in. So everybody that is here with us live, glad that you're here. We're going to get into some second half predictions. So comment in the live chat. Let me know what you're thinking. If you're watching this after the fact, comment below. Give me your predictions. Who's winning the divisions? Obviously, things have changed. We make our predictions at the beginning of the season, then the season happens, and then, all of a sudden, we might want to change our mind. So let me know who's winning your divisions. Let me know who's winning your MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, all of that. But before we jump into everything, we do have a little bit of breaking news within the last hour or so. And this is one of the things we want to talk about anyway. And this is the Trevor Bauer situation. And his administrative leave has been extended for, I believe it is 2 more weeks. It is nearly 2 weeks to July 27th. That is an agreement between MLB and the Players Association. Now, you're wondering what's the difference between the administrative leave and suspension? Well, he gets paid during the administrative leave. He would not be paid during the suspension. That could come back to, be a sticky situation down the road. So, Ted, let me ask you. I have my own thoughts, but I'm going to volley this over to you first. Does Trevor Bauer pitch again this season?
It's tough, man. There's no real way of knowing until he actually gets tried, I guess. Until it's fully settled and whatnot. But I don't know, man. It's such a sticky situation. And for me with him, whatever you're into, that's totally fine. But there's a difference in some weird sex stuff and fracturing a woman's skull based on the reports. It's just, I don't know, man. It's hard to talk about. It really is. So
I'm with you, and I don't think he pitches again this season. I think his season is done. I think that everything that's into this, I don't know if he ever pitches for the Dodgers again. And this whole thing's kind of crazy. I think that, Kyle talking about Dodgers didn't handle it well. I don't know what there's a whole big thing here with the Players Association trying to protect one of their members and the organization, the Dodgers, MLB, what they can do. This is a really tricky spot that the Dodgers are in. And, this administrative leave thing, I do think ultimately he gets suspended for the rest of the season. But you're right. I mean, he's got to get tried. They got to go through the whole thing. That could take some time. So that is going to be just really fascinating. And I don't know if Trevor Bauer, I'm leaning towards he won't pitch again this season. Other news, good news, because that's kind of a, not so great. The other news that broke right before we came on is that the Boston Red Sox are calling up a top prospect. Jaren Duran is going to be called up. Duran is let's call him the number 4 prospect by Baseball America. They still have Bobby Dahlbeck as the number 3. I'm making the executive decision to move Dahlbeck out of the top 5. So that moves Duran up a spot to the number 4 prospect. He's their top outfield prospect. What are you expecting from Duran, Ted? Are you expecting anything from a fantasy point? Is he going to be relevant? From a Red Sox point, is he going to be relevant? What are you thinking? He's got, I'll give everybody the grades real quick, and then I'll let you answer. 55 hitting, 45 power, 70 speed, 50 fielding, 45 arm. Those are his scouting grades. Your thoughts on Duran?
Personally, I think that power grade might be a little low in comparison to what he's flashed this year. I don't have his Fangraphs page up currently, but I know he was on pace for a pretty good amount of home runs. For
Mhm.
everybody who lost Ronald Acuna in your leagues, this might be a guy to
Good
pick up
pickup.
to replace your steals.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's not going to be that extent. You were talking about one of the best 5 fantasy assets in baseball, but
Yeah.
Jaren Duran has that potential to be, 20, 30 type guy, and he's
Mhm.
definitely interesting. I was late to the pickup in one of my leagues already, but
We
hoping
were
to
talking
overbid on him. Yeah.
we were talking about it before we came on, and we were talking about where is he going to play. And right now, you've got Verdugo. You can't sit him. Renfro. I think they want to keep him going. So I guess it's Kike Hernandez. Kike's been playing a lot of center field. Verdugo's been playing some center. I guess it's Kike Hernandez who could be losing out here. Is my feeling. I mean, Duran's a lefty bat. Kike's a righty bat, so maybe that has something to do. Any Red Sox fans that are in the chat live with us right now, let me know. Let us know what you think. How's this going to play out? Is Duran going to be coming off the bench? Is he? I mean, they can't call him up and then bench him.
Yeah.
They just can't. I'd be shocked. So, I mean, do you agree with me? Is this Kike who ultimately loses? It's got to be, right? He's got to be the one who loses out here, don't you think?
I would imagine, but he's been pretty hot lately. I know Alex Cora has been messing around with that lineup, batting Kike lead off or batting Danny Santana lead off, but I just imagine that he's going to kind of throw a wrench into things and he's going to bat Duran towards the top of the lineup. But hey,
Yeah.
what do I know?
Right. We're not in there. I'm sure they've got to have a plan. I do think that it is interesting though. In fantasy, you talk about it. How far down would you go to drop him? Like what kind of would you drop anybody that is, let's say, inside the top? What's your cutoff point? Top 150, top 200, top 250. Where would you, just in terms of overall season rank, what's your cutoff point to where like you drop him? I dropped Alec Boehm for him because Alec Boehm's been underperforming. He's in my league. He's outside of the top 300. If you're dropping him for fantasy, what's your cutoff point?
Yeah, I'd probably say somewhere in that 150 to 175 range. It's just, especially in a roto league with the steals,
Mm-hmm.
he could be a very, very nice player who could end up, carrying you in that category for the rest of the season.
Right.
Especially if you're trailing in steals, that's a guy that you want to go bid a lot of fab on because there's a pretty good chance he ends up stealing, 15 to 20 bases for the rest of the season if he gets everyday playing time, and there's a chance they just shift Kike to second.
Right. Let's put a bow on the first half. Is there a player or two that come to mind for you, fantasy wise, just performance wise, that has been a big surprise? And we'll stay with the hitters. I'll give you maybe some candidates because I hate getting that question because then I just get a flood of names and I never have a good answer. But I'll give you some players that were ranked preseason outside the top 300 and are currently in the top 100. So we'll maybe kind of go there. Ohtani. Ohtani was outside the top 300. He's number 2. Cedric Mullins, Adam Frazier, Brandon Crawford, a few names. Brian Reynolds, not quite ranked outside the top 300, but pretty close. Adolis Garcia has been a big surprise, I think, for a lot. Jonathan Scope. Anybody that kind of comes to mind as maybe a big standout from the first half for you?
Shohei Ohtani, what he's done has just been absolutely bananas. I mean, we in our lifetime have never witnessed anything like it. So he's definitely like the standout if you're talking about one. And your boy Vladdy, I know he wasn't necessarily on the list, but what he's done has been incredible. I mean, you're talking about one of the best 5 pure hitters in baseball at this point.
Right.
For me, though, from a negative standpoint on those guys, I'd probably say I can't see Garcia continuing this pace. That swinging strike rate is just terrifying to me. And he's barreling everything he does hit. But again, he swings and misses a lot. He doesn't have good discipline. I know he's interesting because he's
Yeah.
kind of a power speed guy, but it's just I can't see it continuing long term. I've been offered numerous trades to acquire him in multiple leagues,
Right.
and I can't pull the trigger on it. It's just the peripherals on him are terrifying.
Yeah, it's one of those where he's in fantasy. He's probably helped you big time, right? One of those guys that you picked up, and I mean, he's a top 50 guy right now. He's right there at that 50 mark, and 22 homers, 8 steals, made the All-Star team. He's doing some great things, and I guess one of the things that could be interesting is what does Texas do around the trade deadline? If he doesn't have Joey Gallo hitting around him anymore, because maybe they trade Joey Gallo, maybe that hurts him a little bit. He can't drive in as many runs or have the same kind of lineup. We'll see. But Garcia is an interesting piece there. Let's get to the teams. We're putting a bow on the first half before we get into our second half predictions. So, what team has surprised you the most this season? I'll give you some candidates: San Francisco, Milwaukee. I think Cincinnati could maybe be a surprise team. They're second place. They're doing well. Looked like they were selling everything off and moving on during the offseason. They've done well. Let's see. Cleveland holding strong in there. Boston, Tampa. Any team that's for you, surprised you with their first half performance?
The biggest surprise has to be the Giants. Nobody was expecting them to be the best team in baseball coming out of the All-Star break. Just if you did, you're lying.
Right.
But I'm going outside of the obvious pick. I would probably go with Milwaukee because that top 3 of the rotation, you knew it was good going into the season, but Jesus, it has been incredible. And that's with Burns struggling a little bit more as of late. But between Woodruff, Peralta, and Burns, I mean, they may outclass the Dodgers in terms of their top 3 in their rotation.
That the pitching is what they needed. I'm sure at some point during the off season when we were thinking about this season, my thing for them was the pitching. I did not believe in Corbin Burns. I didn't think Brandon Woodruff would be this good, and Freddie Peralta wasn't even on my radar. And now those 3, it's a 3-headed monster. So how they can keep going is really going to be important because Cincinnati can hit a lot of homers, but they can also strike out a lot. The Cubs are selling it off. Kyle with the comment, the Cubs are going to be selling everyone. Yes, I think they are very soon. I think we'll start seeing some trades. The Cardinals are that's the team. If we're talking about surprising in a negative aspect, for me, the Cardinals with that 44 and 46, you went and got Nolan Arenado. Now the pitching's been a little banged up, but the negative 40 run differential, they're giving up runs. I'm really surprised that the Cardinals aren't doing any better. I'm also surprised that National League East that, maybe they're all close to 500, but I just expected more than one team to be over 500 at this point in the National League East, right? There's the Mets at 47 and 40, then everyone else is either at 500 or under. So the National League East is kind of interesting. We do have a question about what do you think about Gallo and Kennedy to the Jays? I have seen that a few times pop up in the live chat. I haven't seen too much of that on social media. Anytime you guys, if you see something on social media, tweet it at me. Let me know. At Jim Riley Live is the Twitter handle. Shoot it to me if you see something on Twitter. I haven't seen much of that. I do think that's unlikely. Obviously Toronto needs a lefty bat, and Gallo would give them that. But I just don't see it. I think that they like their outfield. I think they do. And the way they drafted leads me to believe that they feel like that offense is good to go. I think they're going to focus on pitching. I think they're going to focus. If they can get Ian Kennedy solo away from the Rangers, maybe that's the play.
He's been awesome. Ian Kennedy has had a very nice season.
Yes, he has. And that's my question. I fired you. Do you think he can keep it up? Can he keep that going?
You know what? I think so. Ian Kennedy's always been a pretty solid pitcher for the most part, especially after he converted to that bullpen role with Kansas City. he's been pretty damn good for the most part.
I
Pull up his Fangraphs page just to take a
I
look, but
I just worry about his age, right? Being in his late 30s, does he fall off the second half of the year? You know, he was bad last year. Granted, it was 2020. 2019, he was all right. But 2018 was bad. 2017 was bad. If they could get Ian Kennedy for like next to nothing, then I would be okay. I just hope they wouldn't have to give much up for Ian Kennedy if they go that route.
I mean, I assume you'd give up like a borderline 30 prospect, you know?
If
like,
they can, if that's what it is, exactly. If that's what it is, I would be good with that.
He's like 37, right? 37 years old or something?
Yeah.
36.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, his Fangraphs page looks like what he's doing is pretty sustainable.
Yeah.
270 BABIP, 385 xFIP. Personally, I think he may not be the 270 ERA that he is, but he'd still probably be one of the better relievers in the Blue Jays bullpen, which we both know has been a bit huge question.
Suspect. For them. Yeah, and you know, so far the two trades that they have made have been to address the bullpen. I do think that the high-end closer market, you know, there was comments about Richard Rodriguez, Craig Kimbrell. I think it's going to cost a lot to get those guys. And Ian Kennedy, maybe because of his age, because of, you know, some of those other factors, I feel like Ian Kennedy might be one of those guys that you could get and not have to give much up. And that's, quite frankly, that's what I am most concerned about. I'm looking for one thing on here too. The one other thing I do like about Ian Kennedy, I just wanted to make sure. I've looked at a million pictures, I feel like, recently with this spin rate thing. And Kennedy's spin rate has held steady through this whole like crackdown, lockdown, whatever thing that the MLB and the umpires are doing. His spin rate has held steady. So to me, that tells me that what we've seen is what we could continue to get. Yeah. So let's get into some predictions for the second half, and we could talk a little. We can continue the trade talk as we think about, you know, where certain players might go. I do see a question about Nelson Cruz. I don't see that happening. They have too much going on offense. I don't see that working out. So let's do some second half predictions. Let's start with maybe. I think this is maybe going to be the biggest topic as we go. I got a couple questions for you. And we have not talked about this in advance. So you're going to get everybody that's watching and listening, you're going to get true, honest, you know, off the cuff responses here. Can Shohei Ohtani, and everybody that's live, answer this question yourselves too. Answer this question in the comment section. Can Shohei Ohtani get to 60 homers this year? We're talking about him as Babe Ruth. Right? He's doing all these Ruthian things. That's all we're hearing about. The whole Babe Ruth comparison things being jammed down our throat. The one way that Ohtani could truly hit that Ruth level is if he hits 60. He's 27 away. Do you think Ohtani could get to 60 homers?
Man, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think 50 is definitely realistic, but is it possible? Sure. But Corbin Young actually wrote an article about Shohei Ohtani and what he predicts he's going to do in the second half. And he made some pretty good points. It seemed like a lot of what Ohtani's been doing in terms of his contact isn't necessarily sustainable. But they were also saying this about him, you know, coming into the league. So
right.
Could he do it? Yeah. Is it in the range of outcomes? Yeah. Is it in the 70th percentile range of outcomes? I don't think so. I'm going to go with no on that.
I think if he stays healthy, I think he can do it, because I think I just feel like he's got a 3-homer night in him, and he's going to have a couple of 2-homer games. So I think he'll get like 10 of the homers in bunches. Like he'll get 10 of those home runs over the course of like 3 games, not over a 3-game span, but he'll get them in bunches, 3-4 games. He'll knock out 10 of those. And that means he's got to just basically hit 17 on a normal pace the rest of the way. And I think he could do it. So I think if he stays healthy, he could get to 60. Let's get to the next one. NL West. Who do you think? And again, comment below. Let me and comment in the chat. Who's going to win the National League West? Right now, the situation is this: the Giants are 57-32, 2 games ahead of the Dodgers, who have 56 wins. The Padres have 53 wins, and then the Rockies have 40, and then the Diamondbacks have 26. So, just want to mention the 2 terrible teams there. Let's let me get your thought. What team? I'll let you go first. Who's going to win the West?
I mean, it's clearly going to be the Diamondbacks. Pretty
Yes,
obviously.
they're going to get hot. They're due. They're gonna flip that record around. They're gonna go 66-26 the second half. Wait, I don't think they can. I don't think there's that many games. It's not that many games.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm still rolling with the Dodgers. Even with Bauer probably not pitching another game the rest of the season. Kershaw should be back off the IL soon.
Mm-hmm.
Between Buehler, Kershaw, that's a pretty nice 1-2 punch. They have a lot of depth there. I can't see them not turning it on at some point. And they're at a plus 142 run differential without Corey Seager even in the lineup. And he's been arguably the best hitter in baseball over the last year when he was healthy. I mean, granted, a lot of that's over 2020 and a small 2021 sample size, but he's been excellent. So I still have the Dodgers winning that division, even though the Giants have been great. But I've kind of been on the Giants are going to regress at some point train for a while, just because their main strengths are playing platoons, playing numbers, and Gabe Kapler kind of being able to mess around with everything. Like, he gets to overmanage, but none of the players are necessarily superstars. So that kind of plays to his advantage when he's playing strictly by the numbers. It wasn't like that in Philly,
He had to play the big. He had to play the names. He couldn't play the stats. So I think I'm with you on the Dodgers. The Giants are playing their absolute best. So I'm sorry, Eric. I see you there. Here. Let me give you my reasoning. Hum Baby Baseball just hopped in. Big time Giants. If you're a Giants fan, you need to check his channel out. Baseball fan in general, get the Hum Baby Baseball. But the Giants are playing absolutely their best baseball, and I don't think the Dodgers are. Now, the Dodgers could go the rest of the season this way and not play their best baseball. And if that's the case, the Giants will capitalize and they will win the division. I do not think the Padres can catch the Giants, but the Dodgers can, just because the Dodgers are not playing their best baseball. If they get it rolling, then the Dodgers should take that West. If they keep doing this the rest of the way, then the Giants will take it. I also think I'm thinking about this from a playoff perspective. It would kind of be cool for Dodgers and Padres to have a one-game winner-take-all situation, but at the same time, it would be even cooler if the Dodgers and Padres had, a 5-game series or a 7-game series, right? Like you just a week of Dodgers and Padres instead of one day. So I think the Dodgers will get it together and get their baseball together and will get past the Giants, but the Giants are going to make the playoffs. And I talk about how I want Dodgers and Padres to be a whole week. I mean, if San Francisco and San Diego play in that wild card game, San Diego's in trouble. San Diego might not get out of that thing. That would be
Stefani the ace too. I mean, Jesus, he's been pitching out of his mind.
Descalfani, biggest snub in the All-Star game. And the fact that nobody was talking about it is a joke to me. Descalfani should have been an All-Star.
It's just the unsexy name, but
I guess
would have been great.
Gausman, Descalfani at the top. You need 2 aces. Those 2 have been pitching like aces to compete, and that's one of the reasons why they're getting it done. The West has just been fun to watch, and I knew it would be. Let's talk about maybe the other division that sort of catches everybody's eye, and that's the American League East. First, before we talk about who's going to win the East, I got to ask specifically about the Yankees. What do you think the Yankees do the rest of the way? Are they going to live at this 500 baseball level? Do you think the Yankees turn it on? What do you think happens just let's talk about the Yankees for a minute. Where do the Yankees go from here? Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to be sellers? Are they going to sit the trade deadline out? Your thoughts on the Yankees for a minute.
So one player is locked in there is DJ LeMahieu. He just signed that 6-year extension in the offseason. He wouldn't be going anywhere. Can't see Luke Voigt going anywhere. Pretty sure he's a pre-arb player. So Judge only has one more year of arbitration left, I believe. I could see him being moved. I could see Gary Sanchez being moved, especially with the streak that he had recently been on, just absolutely demolishing the ball. So Gleyber Torres clearly can't play short. It's pretty obvious at this point. He's going to have to move back to second at some point. And I could see them kind of messing around, playing Gio there and putting LeMahieu at first, maybe even third. They're just such a weird team. They have so much talent. They're just massively underperforming.
What's amazing is their pitching has been good this year. They have good pitching. It's not bad. Like their bullpen has been good. Their starters are good. I researched this for my How to Fix the Yankees video. And I want to say their starters are top 5 in the American League. The bullpen is top 5 in the American League. I may be off by a little bit there, but it's close. But they still have a +1 run differential. Amazing, right? With that lineup, with those names, with those players, with the pitching as good as it is to have a +1 run differential, I don't know. I talked to a buddy who's in New York. He's pretty plugged into what's going on with the Yankees, and he blames it all on Giancarlo Stanton. Blames it all on Stanton. It's all Stanton's fault. They can't do anything. It's too much money. They can't play him in the outfield, all this and all that. He wants Ketel Marte. He says, give him Ketel Marte, and they can make that work. He can go into center field. He gives them the lefty bat. He gives them everything they need. But outside of that, I mean, this team, they're awful with runners in scoring position. They strike out a ton. It's just
bad defensive team.
Yeah, bad defensive team. Yeah, you got to have somebody that can play shortstop. I don't know. The Yankees are in a tricky spot. So let's moving on from the Yankees. Talking about the American League East. Who's going to win the American League East? Boston is 55-36. The Rays are 53-37. The Jays are 45-42. 8 games out. Comment with us live in the chat. Comment below if you're watching this after the fact. If you're listening to the podcast, that you can comment on that. Who's winning the East? Who do you have winning the East?
As of now, I still have the Red Sox. Although that Rays run differential is definitely, and Kevin Cash is such a good manager. I'm
annoyed by how good of a manager he is. I wish, I don't know, just slip on something and have to let somebody else manage for a week so they could send that team into a tailspin.
But overall, I still think the Red Sox are going to do it. They have Chris Sale coming back pretty soon. That's definitely an underrated storyline I haven't seen many people talking about, but when he comes back, it's a potential front-end ace,
Yep. He's getting stretched out. They're starting to stretch him out, and they will be getting an ace, and they don't have to trade anybody for it, right? Like Toronto, if Toronto wants an ace, they got to go trade somebody. Boston's going to get an ace back, and he's just going to – they don't have – it's just adds to the team. There's no subtraction.
Right. And I could see them making moves for some of these bullpen guys. I could see I could see them reuniting with Craig Kimbrell again, especially because he's an expiring deal. I wouldn't see him taking Matt Barnes' job because Barnes has been awesome so far. But definitely just a solid bullpen arm to have. They are in a position to compete for a World Series. That's why they're calling up Duran. I see them making moves to push forward, especially if they could move players like Michael Chavis that still have a little bit of prospect hype and Bobby Dahlbeck and whatnot. But I still got Boston winning that division for sure.
Yeah, I hate to think. I mean, I want it to be Toronto. That's what I want to say, but I just I worry. I just worry. I want it to be Toronto, but I don't know. I feel like I'm going to abstain from this answer. I do want to, because I see you in the chat, Gyro Oli Play. I see you. And here's my thought on that trade: Groshans, Riley Adams, and Otto Lopez for Daniel Bard and German Marquez. The Rockies have already said they're not trading Marquez, and I wouldn't give that much up for him anyway. I don't know if I would give – at this point, I don't know if I would give Jordan Groshans up for any of the starters that are going to be available. I don't think they need it. I think that this Blue Jays rotation is kind of filling together. I'd like them to get a proven arm for maybe the stretch run, but I don't want them to get anybody that then they're then locked into for the next handful of years. I'm okay if they don't get it, because I see the Jays rotation moving forward, Ryu and Ray and Pearson and Manoah, and then that number 5 spot. They got 10 guys that they can figure out for that number 5 spot. I don't know if we need Marquez. I'm again, for a stretch run, 1-year deal kind of situation, expires and goes on somewhere else next year, I'll do that trade. But Marquez, you got Marquez for the next 4 or 5 years. Scherzer, Kyle, it's a Scherzer to the Blue Jays alarm. I'm sorry, Kyle is completely against Scherzer to the Blue Jays. I'm all for it. There is word that Scherzer wants to waive his no trade, have an extension worked out with whoever trades for him, and I don't want that. Like, I'm out on that. But if it could be a Scherzer for the rest of this year kind of thing, I'm cool with that.
So I have a
there he is.
What if they did a Scherzer trade with an extension like Clayton Kershaw had, like 2 years, $65 million. So you have him for like 2 more years at $30 million a pop, maybe a little over. But you're not talking this 6-year deal or some shit for a 37-year-old starting pitcher. You're talking 2 years, and he still has been pretty damn productive, overall for the last couple of years. I mean, Max Scherzer's been pretty excellent.
I would take him. I don't know if I want him for 2 more years beyond this year. I don't know if I want that. I would take him for this year, and then I want to move on, because I don't want a fat bloated salary when they could be trying to get something else, even though it's only a couple of years. I mean, this window is we're entering the window, and I don't want them to be hamstrung, because I just don't know how much longer Scherzer is going to be good. I know he's going to be good this year. I don't know how much longer. So that's my whole thing about Scherzer. I'll take him for this year, but I don't want him beyond that. And then you think about some of the other pitchers that are available that are free agents next year. I feel like he's the best one. Outside of Max Scherzer, if the Blue Jays make a trade for another starting pitcher, they're getting in bed with like Sonny Gray, Marquez, Kyle Hendricks, guys that are locked in for several more years. And I don't know if I want that. I just don't know if I want that. I don't like what Sonny Gray's done. I don't like what Luis Castillo's done. Kyle Hendricks has been up and down. I know, Kyle, you've got Max. Max doesn't fit. I don't know if he doesn't fit. Vladdy almost took his head off last night, and then the two of them shared a nice embrace on the mound. I mean, they seem to be friendly. I'm okay, hey, I think Mad Max and Vladdy could get along.
My thing with Scherzer is, outside of any stat sheet that you're going to look at, that dude is just a fiery competitor.
And that's what I want. That is what
you want towing the rubber, Game 7 in a playoff series.
Yes.
That's the type of guy that you want out there, who's done it, who's won a World Series, who's played in multiple. Like, that's the type of guy that you want out there. Between him and Ryu, that might be one of the best 1-2s in all of baseball. I mean,
I would, and that's what I'm saying. And have you watched much of Alek Manoah?
I've watched a decent amount, but it's mostly just clips. I haven't watched an entire start.
Fiery guy, emotional guy. I would love for Mad Max to be able to just transfer his knowledge into Alek Manoah. That would be amazing for him to do that, for that playoff experience. Jose Bautista's turf toe with the comment about the playoff experience. I love that. Kyle, got to do both. It's got to be the pen too. Like Max Scherzer, if the trade for Max Scherzer means the Blue Jays do nothing else, then I don't want that either. They have to still be able to do that. And because Max is coming into that free agent year, I did not mean for this to turn into a 5 to 10 minute Max Scherzer conversation. I apologize to everybody, but we're almost done with the Scherzer bit. I don't think they would have to give too much up for him because of the fact that this is it. You're literally renting him for a couple of months. I think that and we go with the trade that the Astros made to get Zach Greinke a couple years ago. That's the closest correlation, is that Greinke trade. Now, the Astros did give up a couple of top 10 prospects, but Greinke had 3 more years of time on his contract. This is it for Scherzer. So they shouldn't have to give much up if you take that Greinke trade as the blueprint and say, look, we're getting him for just a couple months. We don't have him for a couple more years. So we're going to take a couple things out of that Greinke deal. Maybe the Blue Jays can get away with one top 15, another one around like the 25 range, a major league guy, maybe like a Hatch or a K or somebody like that, and then give him a player to be named later, right? Give him a list of players at the end of the season and let him pick one. I think that'd be good. So anyway, let's move on. Let's do this. So let's look at the rest of this. I think we can both agree White Sox are going to take that Central, right?
Yeah, especially with the reinforcements coming from injury. So definitely.
White Sox going to take that. It'll be fun to watch Houston and Oakland battle it out in the second half. I think that should be fun. The National League East, do you think anybody creeps up on the Mets? Do the Mets make a move? Does Philly or Atlanta or Washington creep up on the Mets? Do you think anyone has a chance to snipe them at this point?
You think the Blue Jays have had bad bullpen problems? Try being a Phillies fan. Holy cow. That has been awful to watch. I think they blew like 9 straight saves at one point.
The amazing thing is, too, like I saw this coming. I'm sure Philly fans saw this coming. They did not address it in the offseason. Archie Bradley, like that was it? Are you serious?
And Jose Alvarado.
Right. They did not address it, and they're paying for it, right? That's it. I mean, you reap what you sow. They're paying for it. We both got Milwaukee. Good.
I can't see anybody catching the Mets. I mean, unless the Phillies really make a couple of moves here for some bullpen pieces, because the lineup's pretty rock solid from top to bottom. At least I think so. And Joe Girardi seems like a fine manager for that team. I don't know, man. Their bullpen is just brutal. I haven't seen that bad in a while.
Yeah, I do think the Mets will take it. I think the Mets are going to take that. Philly just seems like a 500 team. And Atlanta, now that Acuna's down, Washington just doesn't seem to have the juice. And Miami, who was with me throughout the offseason? I was saying Miami would be the best last place team in all of baseball. And guess what? They have 39 wins. That is the most of all of the last place teams. Pittsburgh has 34. Arizona has 26. Texas has 35. KC has 36. And Baltimore has 28. Miami is, I don't know, do they get like the poop emoji medal for being the worst place team? Let's shift conversation. Let's shift and let's talk about, I think this might be a hot button issue the rest of the way. Comment in the chat. Let's talk about some awards real quick. Who is your American League MVP when we get to the end of the season? Who are you going with?
As of now, I know you're not going to like this, but I definitely have to roll with Ohtani. I have to.
I understand.
Yeah, just what he's doing it is unheard of. Sub 3 ERA, leading the major leagues in home runs right now. He would be my pick in the AL for sure.
It's what he's doing is incredible. If he hits 60 home runs, and even if he is a 500 pitcher the rest of the way with an ERA of like 4 the rest of the way, but if he can hit 60 home runs, he's got it. But here's the thing. If he doesn't hit 60 home runs, if he hits like 59 home runs or something like that, I'm going, and I brought my bat for protection for anybody that wants to come at me for this. It's a mini bat. It's not a very impressive bat, honestly. Look how small it is. It's I don't know, whatever it is. But Vladdy is my MVP if Ohtani doesn't get to 60. I know that that's a backdoor way of making a weak-ass prediction, but I'm going to say Vladdy gets it if Ohtani doesn't hit 60 home runs. How about that? That's a terrible prediction. But that's what I'm going with. Let me switch back to my AL. I'm repping the American League. 9 straight years. Let's do this real quick. Anybody that is here watching the stream, we're at about 50 people on this Sunday evening. I appreciate it's not Sunday. I'm used to doing this on Sunday. What day is today? Wednesday? Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Hit the like if you have not done that yet. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe if you're just finding for the very first time. And if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, make sure to subscribe. We've gone a little bit over, but that's okay. That's fun. We're having a good conversation here. Let's do, I got one more question. I want everyone to comment. Who is this is maybe a little bit trickier. Who's the National League MVP in your mind? It's funny. American League names just come flooding to me in the American League, but in the National League, is it DeGrom? Is he going to get the MVP and the Cy Young? I think that it's probably leaning that way. What are your thoughts?
It's tough because the two leading candidates, Aaron and Kyle, both mentioned him. Fernando Tatis is one, Jacob DeGrom is the other. Both have missed roughly about a month. So it's kind of tough to have a player be the MVP of the league when he missed damn near 30 games. But what they're doing is crazy. I mean, Tatis at one point had, I think now he has 26 home runs and 20 steals. While
28.
Missing,
he's got 28 homers, 20 steals. Yep.
28 homers and 20 steals heading into the All-Star break while missing a month. I mean, that's unheard of. But Jacob DeGrom, did his ERA get over 1 yet?
1.08.
1.08. I mean,
unbelievable.
It's like picking apples to apples at that point. It's tough. But personally, I tend to give it to the position player just because there is an award strictly for pitching. I know we've seen players win the MVP, like starting pitchers win the MVP, but for me, it'd be Tatis. He's just lighting it up this year.
I'm with you. I kind of feel like we just have to go with the guys out there more often, right? We're going to see DeGrom in 30 games, 32 games, and Tatis. Now, here's the thing. I think people who want to go the opposite way could bring up Tatis's fielding. He has a ton of errors, and do the voters hurt him? Do they take away? Now, you said you made a great point, and just the two that are sort of runaways after Tatis. I mean, who we talking? We talking Ozzie Albies? I mean, Ozzie Albies having a nice season, but that's not MVP. We're talking Winker. We're talking Brian Reynolds.
Be interesting.
There aren't. It really is the numbers Tatis has put up with Acuna out now. It's sort of between Tatis and DeGrom, and you could against DeGrom, you could say, well, he's a pitcher. He's every 5 days. Tatis is in there every day. But if you want to go the other way, you can say, well, Tatis has an error every game. So comment, let me know what you guys think in the chat room, in the comments. Who's your MVP in the National League? The American League. Oh, everyone's leaning Ohtani. If Vladdy can somehow out homer Ohtani and get that triple crown, you got to give it to Vladdy if he can get to the triple crown.
For sure.
Right. I mean, even if Ohtani does pitch well, I think that's going to be remarkable. Down the road, down the stretch, I think there's going to be an MVP battle on both sides. The American League, it'll be between Guerrero and Ohtani, and in the National League, it'll be between Tatis and DeGrom because they're just the far and away standouts. I guess I didn't think about Castellanos. I totally overlooked Nick Castellanos. What do you think about Castellanos? If you start taking votes away from Tatis because of the errors, do you go Castellanos? Nick Castellanos with 18 homers, 331 average. That leads the National League. Doesn't steal as many bases. What what do you think about Castellanos as a maybe third entry into that National League MVP discussion?
Purely for the bat, yes, but he's also not exactly a great defensive player, so that doesn't really help his case.
Right.
And the fact that they're 2 games over 500 right now, it does not help his case. I think Castellanos could come into that discussion if he hits 330 all season, but
yeah,
I mean, I can't put him in that same class as what we're seeing DeGrom and Tatis do, because what they're doing is historical.
Right. Exactly. This is going to be fascinating. And everybody, listen, we're up like 25 new viewers in the last 3 minutes. If you're just hopping in, hit that like. Love you to do that. Subscribe. Please do that. This is also going to be on our podcast, the Fantasy Baseball and Podcast. I want to plug that as much as I can. You can find that wherever you get your podcast. We did see a question in the comment about thoughts on Bauer having a chance to play. I don't think he does. That's my feeling. I don't think we see him again this season. Ted, your thought on Bauer? I know we talked about it at the beginning, but I'll give you a chance to do it one more time.
It all depends on the legality. It all depends on the court system, what ends up happening with his trial. Yep. If it ends up actually going to court, there's a chance that they could just settle and call it a day. I mean, granted, I don't think that's what's going to happen, because, well, she said he fractured his skull, or opposite way around. He fractured her skull. So
that's bad. That's not going to go well.
Yeah, I can't see her just taking a settlement and calling it a day. She wants to bury him, but
yes,
I don't know. It's tough to say. But we're both on we don't think he plays again.
Don't think so. Do you think? Are we going to see more Garrett Cole outings like his last time out against the Astros? Or are we going to see more of the Garrett Cole getting roughed up outings? What do you think we see more of from Garrett Cole?
I think he's the second best pitcher in baseball. Garrett Cole's incredible. He's still throwing 100 miles an hour. I'm not worried about him at all, honestly.
Yep.
Granted, I know the sticky stuff was kind of it was a hot topic, but I can't see him struggling. He's excellent. I don't see him just continuing being bad.
Most pitchers. Go ahead.
Most pitchers end up hitting a bump in the road at some point during a 32 start season, 33 start season. Jacob deGrom's just the outlier.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, well, I think DeGrom has hit his bump, right? He's given up 1 or 2 runs a start now, so DeGrom is having his rough patch right now. Yeah, that is the Cole situation. Will be interesting to monitor that as it goes. I mean, his K rate was absolutely insane in April, and it has come back down to earth since the spin rate has kind of come down a little bit. But he's still a really good pitcher, and because he's on the Yankees, it's easy to jump on the hate bandwagon. And he was, with the Astros, and the Astros have that whole thing. So even though he wasn't, I don't think Cole was on the 17 Astros. So it is all, was he? He was traded for in 17, I feel. I'm trying to remember when Garrett Cole
won the World Series. I think he was immediately after that, and they traded for him in the offseason.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So any other predictions? Comment in the chat with your predictions for the rest of the season. Ted, do you have any other predictions for the second half, whether it be teams, whether it be player performances, who's going to be the best player to watch? Any other predictions from you on the second half of the season?
I'll go from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
I'm currently doing some buy low articles over at the website, fightingchancefantasy.com.
Make sure you guys check that out. Yep, fightingchancefantasy.com for some good fantasy baseball content.
Yeah, I got some and some good football content over there as well. But I've been doing some buy lows, players that I personally think are just going to light it up in the second half and can definitely win you your leagues moving forward. So personally, I would say take a look over there. But the one that stood out to me was Brandon Lau. He's been awful so far, but there are a lot of encouraging signs. There was a reason this guy was going top 80 in NFBC drafts. That's the high stakes fantasy baseball players. There's a reason he was going high. That power speed combo cannot be denied. I love Brandon Lau for the second half.
Let me ask you one more question. How many Cubs players get traded? How many Cubs get traded before the trade deadline? I'll give you an over-under of 3.
I think 4.
So you're going to go over on that. Comment in the chat. Comment in the comment section below. How many Cubs do you think get traded? 3, 4, 5? 3 feels good because I feel like Brian will get traded. They'll probably trade the Kimbrel and then somebody else. That 4 could be a good number. Hockey Kid has 4. That's a good. I feel like 3 is the good number. William, welcome in with 4. I just don't know if Baez gets traded. I think he's hard. He'll be hard to trade. I don't know if they deal Contreras. Kyle Hendricks maybe is the 4th. And I guess I should preface that by like real players, like real names, like, the big guys. How many of the big guys get traded?
Right.
I think if I'm trying to think of some who Wisdom. If Wisdom gets traded, I'm not counting that. I'm not counting Patrick Wisdom. Jock could get traded. That's a good one, William. He's on a 1-year deal. Jock, that's a good one. William Fulgham coming in with a good name there. All right, everybody. It is almost 8 o'clock. I got kids to put to bed. Ted's got to, monitor the offer situation on the house. Everybody, if you haven't yet, go watch the season finale of Loki. That was nuts. I am ready for next season. I hope it's like next month. I don't want to wait a year for Loki to be, I cannot wait to see this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, the MCU, the direction it's going with these split universes and everything. It's going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Tony Stark's art.
What is it? Give me again.
Mjolnir and the arc reactor.
Oh, that's it right there. Dude, I didn't even see it. I'm glad you pointed that out. Yes. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, and we will be back. We will try to be back on Sunday to talk with you again. We'll have some baseball going by then. We'll be back from the All-Star break. We'll be rocking and rolling. Maybe we'll have some trades to talk about. We'll do all of that. Ted, have a good evening, my friend.
You too, Jim. Pleasure as always.
Everybody in the chat, everybody listening on the podcast, have a good rest of your week. Again, this is on the Fantasy Baseballin' podcast. Make sure you go over there, find that, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff here on YouTube, and have a good rest of your Wednesday. Have a good rest of the week. Thanks for hopping in, everybody. See ya.